Yeah, I figured I'd try to stay on top of that for you because I know we always get like,
Hmm.
oh my God, we've
I'm
been talking for 50 minutes. Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm glad you did because I think it's important. But I'm really sad. I'm really sorry to hear about about your Christmas day because
It was actually really good. Um,
that can be
and
very hurtful. Hmm.
yeah, like I said, there was that part was Sunday, and I got over it fast enough.
Good.
I think mostly by my own doing. I can either be pissed about this for the next 2 days,
Yeah.
or I can really good
Uh-huh.
opportunity to be the good guy.
Yep.
And I think that was kind of
Yeah.
he seems to be. Uh, I think he was kind of busting my balls a little bit today. Um, I
Oh.
get on him when he does the laundry. Our laundry room is at the deep end of our garage,
Hmm.
and I always get on his shit when he brings his laundry in, but doesn't close the door between the garage and the kitchen.
Hmm.
And so I'm sitting here at the computer earlier today, and he comes in, gym shorts, shirtless, bedhead, and
Hmm.
he's just standing. And he's got this kind of shit-eating grin look on his face,
Hmm.
and he goes, "You left the garage door open." And I'm thinking like the outside garage. I wasn't outside yet, or I took garbage out, but I know I closed that door. And I'm like, which garage door? And he smiles and says, the one between the garage and the kitchen. I'm like, okay, smart ass. And he goes, I
Well,
gotcha.
yeah.
I'm
Well, I
like,
came
yeah,
down the
I'm
other
glad you
day.
did.
I came down the other day. It was freezing in the living room, and Paul had already been up. I said, "Why is it so cold in here?" And so I went over and noticed that his office door was hanging open. And he gets, kind of pissy if you don't make sure it's closed, right? So this one, just like you, was on
Yeah,
him. So
yeah,
yeah, because I hadn't been out of the house for days to go
yeah. I get like
anywhere.
that too. Like,
It
oh god, I gotta go
happens.
get groceries. I don't
I
think I've been in the
know.
gas tank in 2 months.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Yeah. I like. It's COVID for us was no big deal having to be shut down. It was really kind of nice for me. So didn't have to go
Yeah,
anywhere.
I
Didn't
think a
have to
lot of
see
people learned
anybody.
how. Yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of people learned how to be shut down. Like it or
Hmm.
not.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. So anyway, but I don't know, maybe you can. I don't have any real resolutions or changes for that particular topic. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so I think everybody, you and listeners know I'd been in therapy since like May or June, something like that.
Hmm.
Getting over PTSD that until then I never even knew I had. And she wants me to be more social and actually get out more.
Hmm.
And when Zach asked me what I wanted for Christmas, um, I tried to make it something along those lines instead of something for in the studio.
Oh, awesome.
And I just couldn't think of anything that would have really been a worthwhile thing for him to get that is going to be something memorable. So he wound up getting me. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the part of the monitor, my second monitor. I have two. He
Hmm.
wound up getting me a mount that holds two monitors. So basically,
Oh,
there's a third monitor on the way.
no
There's
kidding.
just so much that I do every time I do like the radio show or any YouTube video for up the middle or anything else that I do. There's just so many apps that I have open at the same time or will eventually need. And like this app, the web browser that you and I are communicating through is
Hmm.
taking up the whole screen because that's all I'm really using right now. I want to be able to see you.
Hmm.
And so I'm my gift to myself when I get more money. It might even take a couple of months, and I'm fine with that. Is another monitor like the one I just showed you the corner of, and then he got me the mount that has a C clamp that clips onto
Nice.
the end of the desk and has these two arms that each of the monitors connects to. So Yeah, and of course, coming from a construction family, you'd think I'd be able to use a tape measure. Um, this particular mount is
Mhm,
for 13 to 27-inch monitors.
mhm,
And when we bought it, they said, the guy at the store, it was we just got it at the Walmart. It's I have two mounts that are on the wall with televisions, and it's a good enough company for a mount. It's not the TV itself. So
mhm.
yeah, we'll just get that one. It was like $30, and he's checked the box and got me his thing for Christmas. The guy says, "Don't put a 28-inch on this. It's not. It's going to be too big." And point being, it's going to be too heavy.
Mhm.
And so I get it home. I'm all happy, set up. Going to put my 28-inch monitor on this thing, and it keeps. I set it up, and it keeps falling forward. It's not staying with the
Wow.
screen, facing me the way I set it.
Mhm.
And so the nut that's in the back, I take the Allen wrench that came with it, and I'm really putting my weight behind it and getting this thing tightened up, and it still falls forward. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I go out to the garage and get a tape measure, come
Mhm.
in, and sure enough, I've got a 28-inch monitor, not a
There
27.
you go. Oh man.
So I've got this foam that it came in on the desk, standing upright. It's the wedge keeping the monitor up, and of course, it's only foam, so it's bending. Um,
Mhm.
my it was I think we went Christmas shopping together on Friday.
Mhm.
And so I went Saturday to one of the craft stores. I've got this wooden dowel that's about 3 feet long. I'm going to cut a portion of it off to put between the bracket and the monitor in the back,
Mhm.
so that it'll keep it pushed out, and then just zip tie that to the bracket, so it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm going to put another one underneath the arms, holding it up from the table, because
Mhm.
obviously it's also too heavy that way. So I
Mhm.
don't want it sliding down gradually or at all. But as far as changes, I'm telling you all that because I'm supposed to get out of this chair. And my one neighbor
Mhm.
compared me to Howard Stern.
Yeah.
You've compared me and you to Robin Quivers.
Yes.
He was, and I think to this day probably less so, because apparently his second marriage is actually going rather well. But he had been through his successful development years a workaholic, and had a
Of
place in his
course. Yes.
basement that was his studio, that if he wasn't doing shit for work, he was just watching porn. And I'm not that bad with the porn, but I'm just constantly doing shit for work,
Mhm.
um, to a point where, and part of this was having lost Moby back in May, but I have
Mhm.
not been on my jet ski since April, and I've
Wow.
not been to the gym since May.
So it's time.
Yeah, yeah, it's I'm going to be one of those New Year's resolution go to the gym guys.
Mhm.
But I was talking with another friend. He just said he hasn't been to the gym in 3 weeks, and he doesn't miss it.
Whoa.
And I mixed feelings about whether or not I miss it. I miss looking like I go to the gym. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
still, yesterday I had this tight Green Lantern long sleeve shirt on because it was the only thing that was either green or red.
Mhm.
Um, and that kind of keeps me together,
Mhm.
and I look athletic.
Mhm.
But I look at pictures of when I was 235 pounds
Mhm.
and muscular, and that was 20 pounds ago, because I'm about 215 now, and that's 20 pounds of muscle.
Wow, that's a lot.
And a lot of that was lost also because of COVID, because that picture is pre-COVID, um, and really also pre-LA.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't miss going to the gym,
Mhm.
but I do miss looking like I do.
That has to
And
be the motivator then.
yeah, but the other thing is that it is actually The other thing is that is actually kind of scary is that in the past 7 months, 7, 8 months from having not been to and the other thing is last year having homeschooled Zach
Hmm.
and the gym was his phys ed class.
Right.
When we would go work out, it was much more for him than me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't some of the more intense workouts that I used to have when I was, drinking 2 or 3 protein shakes a day and on all kinds of over the counter supplements that you can think of and trying this,
Hmm.
that, and the other thing and whatever else. Um, I mean, I was a walking health food store.
Hmm.
Uh, that contributed. It helped maintain, but it didn't gain.
Hmm.
And so it's I miss. We talked before about how some friends of mine say that I'm intimidating.
Hmm.
Well, apparently I'm less so now, because I'm 20 pounds lighter.
Hmm.
But now I get out of bed and I can feel like my knee, my one knee, it's like the bones separate at the knee and
Whoa.
snap back together. Like I can feel my femur and tibia and fibia, like, cracking into each other at the knee until
Huh.
that joint cracks, and then I'm fine.
Huh.
But I can feel it's like they're not connected right for those first
Yeah.
couple of minutes.
Well, maybe
Um,
the muscle or the tendon around them has loosened up,
well, yeah, I mean,
or.
the other thing is, and this is coming from wearing dress shoes on concrete or marble or all the places we stood post for 20 years.
Hmm.
I can take my ankle and just flex my toes and crack my ankles.
Wow.
And you think that when if I were to crack my knuckles right now, which I've already done when right before we first came on, I can't crack them now because they're stretched and they're in
Huh.
place, and that's what that sound is when you crack your knuckles. I can crack my ankles and crack them again right away, like almost on command. And now my knees and hips are doing the same thing.
Hmm.
And I strongly believe that it's all because I've stopped working out.
Hmm.
We used to, as some form of cardio, we used to both go for a walk independently from each other, but, we'd still go take a walk first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
Once Moby died, I had stopped doing that because I wanted to spend that time with Matrix.
Hmm.
And, I noticed that, I don't feel fat. There were some shorts a little while ago when I moved here. I haven't worn jeans except for like up to Pennsylvania and here the past couple of weeks for a little bit, but that was it. This is probably going to be a little too much information, but you'll get a kick and laugh out of it. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've worn underwear.
Oh,
You talk about
okay.
coming home and taking your bra off. I don't have a bra to put on. I've got a whole drawer full of them that haven't been there since. They're like, Dad, you used to wear us, with nothing else all the time. What's going on?
Hmm.
Uh, but I came here and I bought a bunch of like cargo shorts.
Hmm.
Um, and the first pairs I bought were 34s because I fit that.
Hmm.
And then a couple months of being here, and when I first got here, I drank beer pretty frequently,
Hmm.
which I don't even drink. But I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm celebrating a little bit, and uh,
Letting loose. Yep.
yeah, I bought 36s after that to hold me over until I lost, was back down to the
Hmm.
34s.
Hmm.
A couple months after that, I was putting the 34s away because I couldn't wear them,
Hmm.
and I was buying 38s.
No kidding.
And that was all within a span of a year, my first year. And so now I'm back in the 34s.
Are you?
Yeah. And I can put the 38s on and just yank them down. I can pants myself and because there's nothing holding them up because I don't have an ass anymore either. Um, I've got to wear them with a belt. And I get it. I'm never, and I don't think I want to be 235 pounds again.
Hmm.
Because at my age, I think the only way that's really going to happen is by sticking a needle in my ass. And I don't, there's obviously other reasons why that would probably be bad. Um,
Hmm.
but I do want to get some sort of shape again. And again, gay community, you know, uh, yesterday my one neighbor said, because we were talking about this, and he said, well, are you seeing somebody? Is that why you're able to let yourself go? I'm like, dude, I'm gay. You know, if I let myself go, that's somebody that I'm seeing is going to go with it. They're
Hmm.
they're not going to stick around once I'm fat and ugly, unless they're also fat and ugly, and that's not my type. And as the gay community doesn't work that straight married way, and he just starts cracking up laughing because
That is
we kind of
funny.
we kind of crack the gay jokes together, and I know he's not being a dick or anything like that. Um, we were talking about beds. I forget. Talking about I think like a camper or some shit. And he was talking about like a full size bed, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of had you down as a queen.
That's funny.
He says, no, there's more than one reason why I don't fit on a queen. But yeah, I do want to. I don't. There was when I was buying the hotel, and there was a consultant who actually had a TV show for a while. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Hotel Impossible,
No.
or have heard of that. The guy, the host of that show, worked for me as a consultant for a little bit, and he is on that. He's in that file of famous quotes that
Okay.
I'll eventually get back to writing about for the Expression too. Because that's actually top on the upper part of the to-do list. Uh,
Aha. Glad to hear it.
I I'll tell you his quote, and then I'll talk about that. Why I'm helping to better
Good.
organize myself. His quote is, "I don't make resolutions, I make plans."
Ah,
And even though his consultation was not exactly as successful as what it could have been, it still stuck with me because my similar saying is I don't have I'm sorry, I don't have dreams. I have goals.
same.
It
Yep.
it wasn't a dream for me to be a referee in the National Hockey League. That was a career goal, and that was something I was shooting for.
Hmm.
And I flat out admit that I failed.
Hmm.
And it wasn't a dream for me to umpire Major League Baseball. When the NHL was no longer coming to fruition, that was a career goal. And I made it to 2 years in the minor leagues, but still failed to make the major leagues. And I say that, and I'm okay with that because I gave the effort to both that I could give. And I
Hmm.
used whatever political connections I could use because I recognized that was a part of it.
Hmm.
And that's as far as I went. And I had that same type of political connection to help get me to the Secret Service. And for that matter, into the police academy with North Coventry. We talked about him, the late Mike Benyo was
Hmm.
like an uncle to me. Um, so one of the things I did a while ago when I first got my iPhone was in the notepad feature. I created a to-do list because I had so much shit that when I wasn't traveling with Hillary, I wanted to be getting done at home. And every night before bed, I would go through what I would like to do and put it on that to-do list.
Hmm.
And then one night I had planned on going through it, and I went to bed and I went to add something to the to-do list, and I saw that none of the shit for today was even looked at. So from there, I said, well, I got to get some sort of reminder. So I used the clock feature, and now I also go over my schedule for the next day and say, I've got probably a dozen a reminder alarm clocks on that clock feature from waking up to being dressed to go take that walk, that AM walk now, to feeding Matrix his medication, to feeding him his lunch, to feeding me my lunch.
Hmm.
Calls like this. I set alarms for this. Um, you know, for my 5 o'clock show, there's going to be one that's going to go off at 4 o'clock. That for show prep. And what I had done, because there's some things that I know I want to do to help develop both sides now, to help develop Jurg's radio, to help develop, my other podcasts, is to do better with social media.
Mm.
So instead of just on my phone, I've created a to-do list that sits on the desktop of this monitor that I showed you that's to my left, that I open as soon as I turn the computer on, because it's not saved in any files. It's saved on the desktop where there's
Mm-hmm.
few. I'm not one of those that's got 60 things on their desktop. It's all in a
Mm-hmm.
filing cabinet and place that I can find it later instead of like combing through shit that I can barely see because my eyes are going. But this is on the desktop where I can quickly open it, and at the top are the daily things that I have to do every day. The social media. Right now, I'm sorry, my nose itches. It's allergy season, 24 hours or 365 days down here. Um,
Hmm.
uh, Developing um, Jurg's radio into not just the website, but putting it on the other directories, like Spotify and iHeart for your podcast, getting it on TuneIn, iHeart, and the other radio
Mm-hmm.
directories similar to a
Mm-hmm.
podcast
Mm-hmm.
directory so that people will discover us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then below that's the next section where it's the once and done stuff. Once I do it, it's done. I'm not going to have to come back to it.
Right.
Like, finish getting Zach into college and whatever else that, he needs to do for the January semester. But yeah, I've spent the past 2 years here largely for other people, whether it was spending a lot of time with Moby and Matrix, knowing that Moby was in his senior years. And I'm glad I did because, I could see his end coming, and I, did the preparations and the personal sacrifices to spend that time with him and make it, worthwhile. And then also with Matrix, he's snoring and was dreaming a couple minutes ago. If you saw me keep looking over my shoulder, it's because I heard him, ruff, 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 and running in place, chasing squirrels, kind of thing.
Right.
But now, not only just because I feel I deserve it, but it's kind of necessary in the self care department.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
getting back to taking the daily morning walks, getting a life. Zach and I both joked yesterday that we were going to be perpetually single because
Mm-hmm.
he had a breakup this past spring. It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard on him. I could tell that. And he was, some of his personal behavior were a little less than gentlemanly as a result. And he's kind of coming back into that. We were watching one of his TV shows together, and there's this boy girl couple that he thinks are really cute together, and he says they're the hero and heroine of the story. Um, so they're he like wants to see them win. Of course, it's on like Netflix, kind of like the CW version of Netflix, where they get
Mm-hmm.
to swear a little bit, but still kind of the same type of show. And they're going to win, but that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
called a drama. You
Mm-hmm.
got to climb
All
that
the drama.
rope to get
Yep.
there. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the story. But he's getting into like that whole the romantic side of himself. Like, okay, he's good. I'll be here when he needs to have girl talk and discuss this one versus that one. But it's time for me to no longer be single.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, for that to work for my standards, I have to keep myself up to my own standards.
Mm-hmm.
And that means, getting out for a walk. And I think just getting more mentally healthy too. You know, Putting this away, I've done that a couple of nights. I've stopped at the computer and I
No
went and sat with
kidding. That's
Matrix
good. That's
and we just
good.
sit in bed sometimes. I'll be
Yep.
on my iPad looking at something other than politics.
Mm-hmm.
Back to looking at boats or
Mm-hmm.
studio shit. Something that's going to be fun.
Well, hopefully, when March comes, you'll be back on your jet skis.
We can be on the jet skis now. Um,
Can you?
it's cold, and
Yeah.
I'm a little less inclined to get wet.
Right.
But when I first got my ski, it was actually the one at Zach's now. I would just take a coffee with me in like a tumbler and just cruise around the neighborhood. And when I say cruise, I wouldn't leave a no wake zone, which means I'm going very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably be out for 45 minutes and never made it more than a mile away. Because I'm going up and down all these channels, waving at neighbors that I've never seen before and haven't seen since.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I walk around the neighborhood going, well, I can't believe I live here.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice feeling.
Yeah. And I want that whole continual level of comfort back.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Owning a house and being a dad is a responsibility. And I'm not planning on letting that go. But it's, I told Zach, I said, you're not sleeping till 1 o'clock when you're in college.
Okay.
So I'm letting you do it now so you can
Mm-hmm.
say you had your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But come January, you're probably going to be up at 6:30, 7 o'clock because you got an 8 o'clock class 45 minutes away. And he's all big about, he showers before going skating, which is
Mm-hmm.
where he sweats.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's all big
Gotcha.
about being presentable. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
very glad about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's a little bit more confident now driving, which makes me a little nervous because that inevitable
Mm-hmm.
activity is going to happen someday.
Mm-hmm.
But he's big about the seatbelt. He's big about other safety issues like defensive driving. And I taught him, we didn't actually practice it yet, but I taught him how to shuffle steer, which is instead of going hand over hand, the one side of the hand, your right hand controls the right side of the steering wheel and your left hand controls the left side of the steering wheel. Just to give you, some sort of description that our listeners can try to follow along. And it's what we use in tactical driving and law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when you do that, you can turn a car much more sharper, much sharper, or much more
More
sharply, or whatever.
sharply.
Yeah, there you go. Um, than the hand over hand because you're not tripping over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That the hand over hand steering can cause.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I trust him. He calls and says, "Hey, I'm not going to be home right away. I'm taking a coworker home."
Mm-hmm.
Or he was spent the weekend with his one coworker or buddy or whichever. And he said, "Hey, we're going to play basketball."
Mm-hmm.
He's leaving the house to go to a park to play basketball. His phone, I track his phone and he tracks mine. So I
Mm-hmm.
know he's going to go play basketball if I
Mm-hmm.
look. But, he's got the responsibility to call me and it's not like he's got to check in.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that, a safe when we first met, he didn't want to go see movies at the movie theater because he was worried about getting shot.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. And now
Wow.
we'll go on like a Tuesday or Thursday night, and it might be us and some couple or one small group in the whole theater. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And these places have 15 theaters that are sitting there empty.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And it's crazy.
So, is he less fearful now?
Ish. I think
Ish.
it's still in the back of his head, and he's just as cautious, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a little less so than I am, but I think he understands me a little better in that, when I he had a girlfriend here who was only 16 or 17, and they just saw no reason for her to call home after midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, forget about calling home. She's heading home. She had her own
Mm-hmm.
car. She's not legally allowed here. after midnight without her parents. And he didn't see why that was a big deal. I'm like, because Pasco County's a bunch of assholes. We have to edit that out because of the address, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
local sheriff's department, aren't too nice about people that they can pick on,
Hmm.
and that's Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, to sort of finally answer your question, better organization and better self care.
Good. Sounds good.
You don't track anything like that at all?
No. I do know that since Ginger is not coming every day and we're not walking every day, I need to do something. But I won't go to the gym. I might sign up for sofa yoga again, or I might find myself going to find her to take her for a walk because she needs some exercise too.
How
So
far away are Amy
a, mi-
and Jeff
a
from
mile
your
and a
place?
half. A mile and
Okay.
a half. Yeah. Now you're familiar with the area,
Yeah.
so yeah. So I'm right down the road from the what used to be the pit stop.
Yep. Right. And
So
so where are they at?
across from what used to be Lincoln School on West Philadelphia Avenue.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. Yeah.
okay.
It was like the
Yeah.
telecommunications place for a while too.
Um.
You mean right by Fairview Cemetery?
Yes, right by
Yeah.
Fairview Cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if it was a store, an office building for like what used to be Comcast or not Comcast, a Conestoga telephone,
Mm. Yeah,
whatever
I
they
don't
morphed
remember.
into.
I don't remember that iteration. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I need to do what you call self care as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, I'm doing okay.
I think that the best thing mentally to for you, me, our listeners to consider, in addition to the gym memberships that skyrocket in the month of January,
Right.
there's the I got to go on a diet.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the trainers that I worked with, I forget exactly which one it was. I think it might have been Jared, buddy of mine in DC, told me once, "You're on a diet. It sucks.
Right.
A diet
Mm-hmm.
is not a tool."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "You are." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you call somebody a tool, it's not a compliment.
Right. I
He says,
understand.
"A diet is a lifestyle."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me. Another thing, another comment that a friend of mine made once was getting into competitive bodybuilding.
Mm.
And I forget how we talked about or what it came up to, but we basically talked about I made the presumption that because he's in the gym, because he's eating on a particular type of diet, he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, whatever made you think bodybuilding was good for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the crash dieting, the loading, the gaining, where you're trying to gain muscle and kind of fat at the same time, where you're just eating everything in sight. And then at the part where you're cutting, where it's a very strict low carb and low so much other things that you shred. He said there's nothing good about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having that muscularity and lean muscle mass, and what society perceives that to be, is all about self-esteem. Back in the 1700s, the sexy bodies were the fat people because that meant
Right.
they didn't have to
Because
work.
that's right. Yep.
They had money.
Yep. Yep.
And like, wow,
Times change, huh?
yeah. But yeah, so I'm on a diet. And actually, I think that's really what has been part of the solid maintenance is that I don't eat crap. I cut those beers out a long time ago.
Mhm.
I think the crappiest that I eat, I'll get tortilla chips for like $2 a bag at Aldi, or a little over $2 a bag at Walmart.
Mhm.
And if I didn't have any discipline, I'd blast
Eat the
Matrix, and
whole
I would
bag.
blast through
Yeah.
them rather quickly. The Sun chips that I get for Zach, there's a particular flavor that he likes. He does go them in one sitting.
Yeah.
He'll knock out a $3.50 bag of chips in one sitting. And I'll bring it home one day, and by the end of that night, or sometime middle of the next day, I'll see it in the garbage can
Mhm.
because he sat at the
Done.
computer desk gaming and doing whatever. But yeah, I think I eat pretty decently already. So that's key. And it sounds like you've, because I caught you say you don't have dreams either. You have goals, and you've kind of lived your life that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I think
Yeah.
that kind of morphs into pretty much everything you do. You probably have a pretty
Mhm.
decent diet as well,
Well,
and good enough
interestingly,
schedule.
interestingly, I got disgusted with myself last spring, and I decided to follow JD because he was suggesting, or he was following it, what he called an intermittent fasting diet.
I've heard about that.
Yep. So there's specific hours of a day where you eat, and then you don't eat until those particular hours come again. So my friend Sue, gallery director Sue Bebeck,
Yep.
followed him doing that, and she shed 20 or 30 pounds. And I thought, oh, that would be cool. Even if I lost 5, I'd be happy, or 10, or whatever. So what I started doing then
Oh, hang
also
on one
was
second. Hang on one
this.
second.
Yep.
You heading out, Zach? Bye, buddy. See you tonight. Zach's going to work.
So anyway, so what I decided to do at the same time was to cut out the crap, as you say.
Yeah.
And so I figured, okay, well, I'm going to eat between four, what Jeff did was, I thought what Jeff did was between like 4 o'clock in the afternoon till maybe 8. And that's it. And then I wouldn't have anything else to eat, or I wouldn't have anything to eat until 4 o'clock again the next day. So I started eating celery and carrots at 4 o'clock, right? And because at 4 o'clock, supposedly you can eat whatever you want between the hours of that you're not fasting. So I celery and carrots because I figured that was good for me, and I love cheese and crackers, so I had some cheese and
Yeah.
crackers and shrimp, like shrimp cocktail.
Wow.
So that's what I'd have in late afternoon, and then I wasn't really hungry for dinner, and I drank a lot of water, drank a lot of, I guess it was spring, so I just drank a lot of water or iced tea without sweetener in it or whatever, and dropped some weight. And I was really happy about that. So I've stuck with
Nice.
that since then. And now Paul, when he comes over, we'll have we'll have what we call sides. I told him I don't care for meals so much. I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So
You
I
said
have
that before,
sides.
actually. Yeah, you
Hmm.
said that before. Now that I think of
Yeah.
it.
So we get together in the afternoon and have sides, and then neither of us are really all that hungry for dinner. Sometimes I don't eat dinner at all. So, and sometimes he doesn't either. But like at the end of the time where we can eat, sometimes we'll have a bowl of cereal or something like that, but something pretty healthy. So, my doctor was very pleased with me when I went in because I had already shed some pounds. So he was happy about that. So I'm continuing that because, like you say, I like how I feel and I like
Yeah.
how I look. Now, yes, it was interesting yesterday because I had a real Christmas dinner and felt
I had
like
two.
I felt
Yeah.
like crap.
Yeah.
I felt like crap, and I thought I've got to get back to my sides. I got to
Yep.
get back. I mean, seriously, felt like crap for hours.
I
It
had a
was
full
awful.
plate, ham, prime rib, mashed potatoes. I made candied sweet potatoes and baked beans for my contribution. And then there was a string bean casserole, mashed potatoes, freshly made, croissant rolls. Probably forgetting something, but I had a full plate of that. As always, shared a little bit with Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaned up that plate, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go get a little more. Just I was gonna get a little more. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I look down, and I've got a full second plate with just as much piled on as I did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, did I eat any of the first one? Where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm about halfway through that one. And Matrix is, ready to keep right on going. He didn't have any of his dinner last night because he had plenty of mine. I wasn't going to make him sick
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
And I get about halfway through that one, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to be stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was moving towards from the bar room of our neighbor's house into the dining room and living room to start some gift exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
I took that plate home and
Mm-hmm.
put it into, one of my own glass plates for let's. I'll eat that when we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I was not gonna waste it, and I wasn't gonna force
Mm-hmm.
it down. So I just rinsed off their plate and silverware and took a remotely, kind of sort of clean plate back to them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then as is always the case, I take glassware over to fill up leftovers because they don't want them. And
Mm-hmm.
like, why in the hell do you always make all this food? They do it every Sunday for football. They're,
Wow.
they're in two fantasy leagues. And so the people come over to, from their fantasy league and they sit there and drink and watch football. The bar room in their house has four large screen TVs in it.
Wow.
We watch hockey there. We think we're the NHL headquarters doing all the instant replays. Or same thing with football. And the joke about yesterday was not because the receiver in the processor in the smart TV is what
Mm-hmm.
dictates whether or not you're up to speed with the broadcast or if you're lagging behind.
Mm-hmm.
Of the four TVs that were there, the one TV in the kitchen and the one TV in their living room,
Mm-hmm.
six TVs, none of them were in sync with each other.
Oh no.
So it's like we were the NFL replay booth because we could see the same thing for the next 5 minutes.
Wow. On six TVs. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's amazing. Well, I know you've got to get ready for a 4 o'clock prep for your next, and I
that's
I
coming. Yeah.
presume we've been recording for a little while.
Yep, we got a good second episode in on this one.
Okay, so we should probably get going. I know you have to prep for your next show, and there are other things to be done.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Oh, I gotta. Did you notice that the past 2 weeks of episodes had been screwed up for us, for both sides now?
I wondered about that, but I figured, I mean, I let that up to you, so I don't worry about it.
So the first week, I had episodes to start with Amy's,
Hmm.
and the ones after that were on the automated drop system by YouTube and Spotify.
Okay.
And this happened to us earlier when we first started. They never dropped. They just sat there waiting to be released.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm like, okay, second time this is happening, it's not Spotify. So I went and I looked at YouTube too, and I'm like, no, this is all scheduled for the right day, for the right time, which is now come and gone.
Yeah.
Why is this not, dropping? And so I released Amy's right away. Um, I don't. I don't think I actually uploaded the next two because I was going to do that after she dropped. And of course, now I still had them, and I had to, program them into Spotify and YouTube and wherever else. and then I had, last week's recording to also edit and drop behind that, which for whatever reason I got behind on some other stuff. I didn't get a chance to do it right away. So
Yeah, you
now I've
said.
got like 5 episodes, I think,
Right. That's what I
that I'm going
count.
to be ready to drop that we already talked about. One was the Christmas episode, and we already
Mhm.
talked about a schedule for that.
Mhm.
And I think the sixth of all of them was going to drop today, but it was a continuation of the fifth one.
Right, because that
I
one
thought, well,
went really long.
that's going to be
Yeah.
stupid. Uh, so I did my own mini apology
Well,
and released that as
in
like a special.
I'm yeah, it doesn't you're in charge of this. And so I figure for some reason, and I don't know what it is or need to know, but I figure at some point if things don't get dropped, there was a reason for it, and
Oh
maybe we'll just not drop those if it doesn't
no,
make any
no,
sense.
there were. It's not like it's like some of my episodes are up the middle are more timely. Like I had some subjects that I wanted to talk about that
Right,
are old news now. I'm not going to do it because
right,
what's the point?
right,
Everybody
right,
knows. Nobody's going to
right.
watch or listen to them. So, but with what we do, it's
It's
time.
pretty
It's timely,
universal.
but it's also still relevant later.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially because our audience is a little bit more targeted. We are
right.
kind of like Howard and Robin, and everybody wants to know about our lives. Uh,
And that's all we talk about.
yeah, yeah.
All right,
So
sweetie.
yeah, so we're gonna have to go through that video, the 10
Okay.
mistakes.
Yes.
So
Oh,
if
yes.
we can watch that between now and next week,
Okay.
maybe talk about that next week. Unless,
Yeah,
as
actually,
always,
I watched it a couple weeks ago, so I'll have to
nice.
rewatch it to get
Yeah,
fresh,
same
or
here.
I'll let you remind me what they are. But I
Yeah.
remember.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I'll have notes with us for when we do that,
Okay.
and even if you don't get a chance to wash it, yeah,
Okay.
watch
All
it.
right.
Yeah, I think that from the notes we'll be able to refer to our own episodes and go, oh yeah, we're guilty there too.
We'll figure it out. Okay. Well, I'm Jade Stahl,
And I'm Yergs.
and this is Both
Both sides
Sides
now.
Now. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.